Let's go into some news items. We did not get to discuss this yet, but on Thursday, we had the passing of Del Wilkes, who you will remember as the Patriot, who had, about a 10-year career after moving on from football, where he played at a fairly significant university in South Carolina and became an All-American there as an offensive lineman and didn't end up getting onto any NFL teams. And that's when he pivoted over to professional wrestling, training under the fabulous Moolah and later Vern Gagne. So he got in there right at the end of the AWA. And boy, did they have an late in the game AWA gimmick for him. He was the babyface police officer, the Trooper, who came out and would write tickets for his opponents and hand out police badges. So this was off to a roaring start, and you will be stunned, Wade. This did not save the AWA in the end, the Trooper, which this man clearly was for going along with this character, but did become tag champions in the AWA. And from there, around 1990 is when he first goes over to All Japan and would have a pretty big presence in All Japan throughout the 90s. He goes to Global, which was on ESPN at the time in 91. That's when he starts wrestling under his most famous character of the Patriot. And it's over in All Japan that he was working as a tag team with George Hines, and they would win the All Asia tag titles from Kenta Kobashi and Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, held them for several months, and then ends up going to WCW in 1994. This is where he formed the Stars and Stripes team with Marcus Alexander Bagwell, which was a decent team in the mid-90s in WCW. They would become tag champions and left WCW in 95, and this is where he's dedicating all of his time in All Japan. He goes back there, and he would form a team with Johnny Ace, and then later teaming with Kenta Kobashi, and then the three of them got together to form GET, which is one of WH's all-time favorite names for a faction. GET stood for Global, Energetic, Tough, which are three attributes that I wake up every morning and strive to be.
Oh yes, I like to get as can be.
Global, Energetic, Tough. And he would ride out his time in All Japan before he makes the switch over to the WWF in the middle of 1997. And this is when Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation are involved in the big Canada versus USA program. And the Patriot made sense for them. He came in, got a decent push off the bat. Really, to me, was not somebody that was going to be able to crack it at a main event level, but did end up working with Bret Hart on one pay-per-view on the Ground Zero event, which was at the time when you've got Bret as champion, but really the A program during those 2 months were The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels prior to the Survivor Series, and you had Bret kind of involved in this feud with the Patriot, and then they did this flag match the next month at the October pay-per-view. And his career pretty much winds down in 97 when he tears his triceps, and his last match was in November, right before the Survivor Series, against Jim Neidhart, and then he was released in early 98. And I would say for the modern, at least in the 2000s, he was someone very outspoken and had a ton of prescription drug issues. He was arrested around 20 times between 98 and 2002. He was caught faking prescriptions and ended up in prison for 9 months on a parole violation. Getting out in 2003, he had pleaded guilty to a domestic assault charge in 99. And then once he gets out of prison, apparently cleaned himself up and then got involved as a car salesman that he was for the past, I would say, like 15, 16 years prior to his passing on Thursday. He was 59 years old, someone that experienced a lot of places that he went to in his career, but also went through a lot of the pitfalls of the industry. But it sounds like he was at least able to kick that addiction, which seemed to be pretty significant when you look at some of the stories and, the claims he made of how many pills this guy was having each day. Like, it seemed like it was an enormous anything that gets you into prison and there's such a dependency on, it's pretty significant. And if he came out of it on the other side, I mean, congratulations to him. But it was not a smooth life he lived.
To a young age, to
59 is not that old.
Yeah.
And I guess, the trivia note was the man who used Kurt Angle's theme first in WWF.
That is right.
So it was a very brief run in WWF, only a couple of months, but it was primarily his All Japan stuff that I think people will most associate with him throughout his career.